Yeah, I'm not kidding guys, this is my biggest video by far, and also the most stupid. I quite literally travelled, migrated 3,000 miles to watch the new Illumination film. But why on earth did I do this? Illumination could be the worst mainstream animated studio right now. Oh, boo yourself, they're not that good. They suck in my opinion. I would argue that they've only made one good film. And the Mario movie was alright to be fair, but it wasn't anything special. But I bet that it only turned out good because Nintendo was watching them 24/7 during production. Movies like Sing and Secret Life of Pets are just a couple of their horrid movies. The whole thing at Illumination is to make animated films on the cheap. And man does it really show. The fact that they are apparently helping make Shrek 5 depresses me. It's probably going to be an absolute train wreck. This brings us to the latest Illumination film known as Migration, and it has somewhat good reviews, like people kind of like this. What also caught my eye was this incredible Google review of the film. The reviewer watched it at a friend's birthday party, and gave some great points such as, it was fun and entertaining, the characteristics of the ducks were really incredible, there were lots of adventures going on in this movie, the antagonist was really good as well in this movie, the characters were very likeable and charming. Yeah, we'll get back to these points, don't worry. And that just screams paid review. That was definitely wrote by someone at Illumination. At this point I just had to see the movie. I had to. When does it release in the UK again? February 2nd. What the hell? Why is Illumination gatekeeping Migration? Just let me watch this shit, man. Oh god, and it's already been out in the US since last year. That's not fair. Well, I guess there's only one thing I can do at this point, and that's to watch the film. I guess I'm migrating across the pond, guys. So, I booked an Aer Lingus flight to JFK Airport, and off I went. The return flights were £500 each. That seems like an amazing deal to watch Migration. I'm sure it's going to be so good. We went via Manchester Airport, and when I mean we, I mean I'm not that sad. I brought a couple of friends with me, including Sam who was in the Rebel Moon video. I also decided to document the trip on my GoPro. Here are a few highlights.
Alright guys, so we are at
the
airport. Yeah, we are. We're at Manchester Airport.
We're at Manchester Airport.
So, Sam, are you excited we're watching Migration today?
Oh, I can't wait.
Travelling 3,000 miles just to watch Migration.
I think it's going to be worth it. I love Illumination. I love all their stuff, so it's going to be worth it.
What's your favourite Illumination film?
It's probably Despicable Me 3, The Rise of Gru.
No, that's not one.
No, Despicable Me 3, The Rise of Gru.
No,
Despicable Me 3.
That's one with Drew, his brother.
Yeah, that's my one. The Rise of Drew, or whatever it is. What about you?
I'd probably say maybe Hot.
Maybe Hot.
I love Hot.
Yeah, we're migrating to watch Migration.
So we synced up in Kung Fu Panda 3 times. 3 times. Kung Fu Panda 3 times. 3 times. Getting the subway to Migration. So what do you guys think of Migration then?
I wanted to migrate somewhere else. It wasn't the cinema.
Best film ever.
Mate, that was worth the I think that might be in the top 1 worst moments of my life.
So before I begin the review, can I just say that I'm flabbergasted at the price of things in America. It was almost $20 just to watch the movie. That's crazy. Is that just New York prices or is it the standard for the whole country? Let me know in the comments, guys. The cinema experience itself was like entering the 9 circles of hell. We were all so tired, as we barely got any sleep the night before.
I think that was the hardest I've ever fought to stay awake.
Yeah, no, I was asleep.
So going into Migration, I was fighting to stay awake the whole time, especially after a long day of travelling. We also received a lot of weird looks in the cinema. This is probably because it is a bit weird for some 20-year-old males to watch a children's film at night. What was also bizarre was the other people in the audience, which I would argue that it was weirder than us being in there. There was a family of 4 with 2 little kids watching Migration. You might be thinking that is actually normal, but we watched the last screening of the day and it finished at midnight. I shit you not. Maybe this is just a cultural difference or something, but I found that really bizarre. I would have never gone to the cinema that late as a kid. So before the film started, we watched the new Illumination short film called Mooned. This starred the fan favourite character Vector from Despicable Me, and everyone was so hyped for this short film because of that. But guys, the reason why Vector worked in the original was because he bounced off the other characters. He was pretty much a comic relief character in the original, so having just him in an almost 10-minute short was honestly insufferable. It was so bad and it felt like it was never going to fucking end. Maybe this would have worked if it was only a couple of minutes, but man, this was just awful. The slapstick also just didn't work for me in the slightest. In some ways it felt longer than the movie itself. Speaking of the movie, yeah, it also sucked, but it wasn't as bad as Moon to be fair, and it's not the worst Illumination film, but the bar isn't set that high anyway. I think that this letterbox review sums up the movie the best. Every other studio is pushing the limits on what you can do with animation, and going beyond what's possible storytelling wise. Meanwhile, Disney and Illumination are still making movies like we're in the year 2011, and that review could not be truer. I just don't get the positive reviews for this one. I would say that animation does look quite good, but with such a bland cookie cutter story it doesn't matter. We've seen this shit done so many times before. The whole plot is that a family of mallard ducks wants to migrate to a different place for an adventure, and across the way they meet some very animated characters. So for a premise being so tired and true, it better be engaging. And spoiler alert for you guys, it really isn't. The best part of the movie is the start with the different animation style, and it's kind of embarrassing when they switch to the way more bland art style for the rest of the film. It's like they were trying for the first couple of minutes and then completely gave up. It's almost like they forgot it was an Illumination production for a minute. And also the soundtrack is not that bad, but it's so out of place for this movie. I only just found out that it's by John Powell, who has done so many iconic scores such as Kung Fu Panda and How to Train Your Dragon. And it makes sense in those movies because of the sheer size of them and the emotional weight to the stories. But here we have a beyond generic blue sky level story with no emotional baggage to it. So it makes this sweeping orchestral score beyond out of place. It's actually a good soundtrack, but it doesn't fit the movie at all. And the characters and conflict are just so one note and dull the whole time. The main characters have the most one-dimensional conflicts. For example, the dad is so overbearing to his son, and the son wants to be more independent. That's literally it, and that conflict is the reason for the second act low point. It's just so incredibly forced and lazy, and to be honest, it just comes out of nowhere. But remember, this is Illumination we're talking about, so I can't be that surprised. This movie also drags on a lot, having many meandering scenes that are just there to pan out the runtime. For example, the scenes with the heron at the start are not funny and just go on and on. And then you have the Pigeon Mafia subplot with Awkwafina as the main leader. And you guys know just how much I love Awkwafina, so this was such a treat to behold. Thank God she just leaves the movie after a while. And then we have the main villain, who is this crazy chef who kills animals for fun. I'm struggling to remember anything else about him, to be honest, he's that forgettable. Moving swiftly on, we have this Jamaican parrot who wants to go back to Jamaica. And they eventually get there and the film just turns into Rio for 20 minutes. I couldn't actually believe they did that. The most messed up part of the movie was when they go to the farm and meet the bird cult. It was so absurd and tone deaf that we ended up crying with laughter in the cinema. We probably came across as psychopaths, to be honest. The line that got me was when one of the characters says to the cult leader, "Goo Goo, don't get in the truck," which was so fucking stupid that I genuinely broke down and started crying. I found out later that Goo Goo was voiced by David Mitchell, who was fantastic in Peep Show. What an absolute waste of talent. So yeah, that was Migration for you guys, and I thought it was really bad. It's not the worst animated film I've seen, but I don't get the defense for it at all. It hasn't got much going for it apart from the good animation and score, and in some ways both of them are backhanded compliments. So yeah, it was definitely worth spending hundreds of pounds and travelling 3,000 miles to watch it. I'm so glad that I did that for Migration.
So was it worth it to watch Migration, Sam?
No. No, it wasn't.
It's junk. First class junk.